So you all might be like, why is stability important? Why should we even care about it? But it's actually really important because tax income, manpower increase, and unrestriction, all three of them depend on the stability. So if you have a good stability, they increase, and if you have a bad stability, they decrease by a lot. It can be very drastic most of the time. And also, if the stability goes below 45%, your captured territories would be in unrest, and if you are in unrest, yeah, the stability decreases even more, and the tax income also decreases even more. And if it goes below 40%, then the countries which you captured, they will start releasing and become independent, and then your stability is screwed. So there's a very little hope of recovering your stability back if it reaches 40%, so try not to make it go that low. So in this video I'm going to show how to increase your stability really fast and not screw it like a bunch of stupid noobs. So the first way to increase your stability is by selling consumer goods which can be produced by the civilian factory, and for that we need electronics, fertilizers and motor parts. So I will just spawn in those factories. So they spawned in, as you can see. So it's time to sell some consumer goods. So it's better to sell consumer goods to bigger countries, similar to how you sell electronics to bigger countries. And the reason I only have plus 5.58 consumer goods, because I was in a deficit of consumer goods. Every country is in a deficit of consumer goods. The bigger the country, more the deficit. So after producing the consumer goods, I only have 5 left, and the deficit is cancelled, is gone. So I'm selling to small countries because I just have 5. As you can see, the bigger the country gets, more the deficit. Let's sell. So let's check the stability now. It's 0.11% change, a positive change. That's insane. Like, even going above 0.1% is considered very high, and this is like 0.11. So consumer goods is very overpowered in increasing your stability, but the only thing is you need a lot of factories, like the steel factory, motor part factory, electronics factory, fertilizer factory, and it's really hard to get all those resources for these factory in a public server, because no one wants to share their share their resources. The sad truth about Rise of Nations, we like. So another way to increase your stability is by government spending. So as you can see, my stability is 50% and the change is 0%. And now that I'm going to put government spending on high, and note that government spending doesn't only increase its stability but also the political power gain. And so listen, it isn't refreshing, you know. So the change is 0.07%, which isn't that much, but it doesn't take any time. You just have to click one button, and yeah, your stability is increasing. But it's pretty expensive, especially if you're like a big country with a huge population like China, or will have a very very high government spending. It like a government spending for China would probably be more than, even if you put the government spending on high for like a smaller country. Let's take Germany as the example, and my political power is also increasing, and government spending is pretty good, because it's like what is the idiom, killing two birds with a stone, something like that. So your political power also increases, so you can implement more policies to increase your stability. So there are these things called as taxation laws, which determine how much tax you get from your population. So if you put the taxation laws on minimum, you get 0.5 of your tax income, but you also get plus 10 base stability. So let's check how much it will give. It isn't refreshing. That's a problem with stability, it doesn't refresh. Okay, so the change is 0.05%, and what you can do is also put government spending on high, so you can create a combo for even more stability change. But the thing is, never do this if you are dependent on your tax. Only do this if you are selling electronics or you're trading something or the other, or you're dependent on war reparations. Never do this if you are dependent on tax, because then you will go in a deficit, like how I am in a deficit right now. So after this combo, the stability change is 0.12, which is really awesome. So I would recommend this over consumer goods only if you're selling electronics. Other than that, no. So there are these things called as policies, which I'm sure every pro player uses some or the other policies. And for increasing stability, there's Welfare Act, there's Neutrality Act, and then there is there aren't that many, but they're like good. And there's I think there's press censorship as well, and then there's martial law as well. Yeah, and then there are few policies which decrease base stability. But the thing with policies is that there's always a catch. Like for Welfare Act, the tax income reduces by 5%, and also if you use a policy, your political power gain decreases. And for Neutrality Act, the justification time increases by 300%. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend that unless you're democratic and don't want to war with anyone, which I don't know why you would do that. And then there's press censorship, which reduces the integration speed by 5%, and tax income also reduces by 5%. And then for martial law, it's it gives you 60% more stability, which is awesome, but the tax income reduces by 25%, and then the unrest reduction, factory output, all of those reduce. So martial law is good if you're in like a stability crisis and you want to recover fast. Other than that, it's stupid. So I'm gonna check after how much my stability will increase after using the Welfare Act and also press censorship. Okay. And another thing is, so with policies, as I said, the political power decreases. So what you can do is put government spending on high. That not only increases the stability but also political power gain. And you can go to technology tab and use political power gain, the thing. And so let's check. So the change is 0.07%, which is pretty good. And if you use the government spending combo, I think it can go up to 0.14 or something, which is really cool. So ideologies, you either love them or hate them, but on the bright side, they have a good amount of advantages. And stability is also one of the advantage for socialism, communism, nationalism, and fascism. Don't select democracy and liberalism; they're stupid. So for fascism, the base stability increases by 12%, and stability hit on offensive war also increases by 2%, which is basically if you declare a war, your stability goes up by 2%. And so yeah, it's pretty good, because if you are warring a lot of countries and your stability tends to go down, if you're warring a lot of countries, that time this is good. And then for communism, your base stability increases by 8%, and your war exhaustion gain decreases by 0.03%. So war exhaustion is a pretty important thing, because if your war exhaustion is a lot, and it basically increases if you're warring a lot of countries or for a long period of time. So if your war exhaustion is low, your so I think your manpower increase, tax income, unrest reduction, all of these decrease, and eventually your stability also decreases. So try not to make it go that high, the war exhaustion. And for that, communism is good. So basically, it's used by smaller countries so that they can be in a war with a larger country for a long time and not screw their stability. But never choose democracy, it's the worst. It's stupid, especially if you're trying to increase stability. So either choose fascism or communism. For me, fascism is better because I usually make a lot of army. And another thing is, if you have a large military, your stability also decreases. So if you have a large military, of course choose fascism or nationalism.